Thanks for the house, but we don't need you now. Those were my daughter's words, delivered with a smile so casual it cut deeper than a knife ever could. Her husband stood beside her, one hand on the door, the other on her waist. My fingers were still warm from handing over the keys. My shoes still damp from stepping out of the rain to bring her a gift. I stood on the threshold of a home I built with my retirement fund, and they shut the door in my face. I wasn't always this calm. Once, I was a father who believed in second chances. I gave my daughter everything. After her mother passed, I raised her alone, burned my own dreams to light hers. I skipped vacations, sold my fishing boat, downgraded my car, all so she could attend that fancy university, marry that shiny man with the shallow eyes, and live in the kind of house she always dreamed of. That house was mine, on paper, but gifted to her in heart. A new start for their family, I said, a gesture of love. I had no idea they saw it as an exit ticket, for me. The betrayal didn't come with fireworks. It came in looks exchanged behind my back, in a spare bedroom suddenly being repurposed as an office, in family dinners where my chair was no longer set. It came in the way her husband called me sir with a smirk, like a waiter just barely tolerating a rude guest. It came in that final morning, housewarming brunch. Balloons, laughter, my favorite coffee, cold and untouched. And then, the moment after dessert, "We think it's time you find your own place. You've done enough." That last line echoed louder than the others. They thought they were being clever. They thought thank you was payment enough. They didn't know who they were dealing with. I didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't even ask why. I just left. I walked out with the same silence I entered their lives with 2 decades ago, carrying nothing but my coat and a strange stillness in my chest. A quiet death of something. Perhaps love. Perhaps illusion. I checked into a modest rental the next day, took my old lawyer out of retirement the day after that, and I began planning. You see, they never asked whose name was on the title. They never thought to. Too arrogant. Too certain. The house was bought through a family trust, one I'd set up after my second heart attack. My name was buried deep in the ownership documents. On paper, they were residents. I was the landlord. They assumed the gift was permanent. But I had left myself one quiet clause, a 7-day no-fault eviction window. If certain terms were breached, say the primary benefactor being removed from residence without consent, the trust could reclaim occupancy with no court delay. Just one signature. Mine. On the 7th day after they kicked me out, my phone rang. Her voice trembled. "Daddy, Daddy, please, something's wrong. The locks won't work. There's a notice on the door. We've been evicted. There's a truck outside." I let her speak. I listened to the panic swell. Then I said, "Yes, I know." Silence. Then a breathless, broken whisper. "You did this?" I didn't answer her question. I gave her the truth. "You made it clear you didn't need me. But that house, that was never yours. It was a loan of love. And love, when betrayed, collects interest." They tried to fight it, of course, called a lawyer, but the paperwork was airtight. My clause was old, obscure, but legal. Her husband tried to bluff his way through a phone call. "Sir, you're making a mistake." I hung up. They were out by sunset. I watched from across the street. Not with glee, just finality. They left with plastic bins and suitcases. Her mascara ran like ink. His arrogance shriveled under the weight of reality. She looked up once, caught my eyes through the windshield. And I saw it. Not regret, recognition. She finally saw me, not as her father, but as the man who built everything she stood on, and who could take it away. I didn't move back in. That house is rented now to a kind couple with a newborn. They send me holiday cards. They keep the garden tidy. No expectations. No blood ties to betray. My daughter hasn't called since. I hear through whispers that they're living in a cramped apartment in a lesser zip code. He's working nights. She's selling off handbags. Am I sorry? No. Love is not unconditional. Respect is. And once both are gone, there's nothing left to save. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like rage. Sometimes it's a quiet man signing a paper. Sometimes it's the door you closed being locked behind you forever. And sometimes it's the father you thought was weak watching you drown in the very gift you tried to steal.